again. A few reminders as we settle into this new way of being together. Please do not log into Zoom while you're out here in our outdoor space, as it could create feedback in our service. A reminder to please check in when you arrive. There's a sign-in sheet up here at the front. And if you know how to easily do so, please check to make sure you're not logged into UUCP's public Wi-Fi. That just helps us to conserve the bandwidth as much as possible. This morning, I am so thrilled to welcome Reverend Sarah Oglesby-Dunegan to our pulpit. Reverend Sarah serves a UU congregation in Macon, Georgia, and has previously lived in Kansas, Colorado, and Texas. She loves to wander outdoors, so we're in the perfect setting this morning, to read poetry and to get lost in the night sky. Before ministry, she taught in urban community colleges in Dallas and Denver. A mom, a minister, and a mystic, she's grateful to be here with us today. And on behalf of UUCP, we're so grateful to have her here with us too. Welcome, Reverend Sarah.
Don't say there is no water to solace the dryness at our hearts. I have seen the fountain springing out of the rock wall, and you drinking there. And I too, before your eyes, found footholds and climbed to drink the cool water. The woman of that place, shading her eyes, frowned as she watched, but not because she grudged the water, only because she was waiting to see we drank our fill and were refreshed. Don't say there is no water. That fountain is there among its scalloped gray and green stones. It is still there and always there, with its quiet song and strange power to spring in us, up and out through the rock.
Please join me as we recite our covenant in a call and response format for accessibility while Reverend Sarah lights our chalice. I'll say each line and ask that you repeat it back to me. Love is the doctrine of this congregation.
Love is the doctrine of this congregation.
The quest for truth is our sacrament.
The quest for truth is our sacrament.
And service is our prayer.
And service is our prayer.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
To share our strength in fellowship.
To share our strength in fellowship.
Thus do we covenant.
Thus do we covenant.
Everything that's going on at UUCP can be found on our website, phoenixuu.org, and in our weekly newsletter, Compass. We have one announcement for today, which is that UUCP member Sarah Hotellin, you may remember, gave us a vivid description of the current school climate in Arizona in a recent worship service. There is now a bill at the Arizona State Legislature that could lead to more suppression by banning books in school libraries. Please call your legislator to oppose HB 2439. You can see our civic engagement page of the UUCP website for legislators' contact information and a link to Sarah's sermon. For our offering today, we are asking our online participants to donate via text, the website, or by mail. For those of you who are here in person, we're doing our offering slightly different now. We won't have ushers out and about, but you'll see that there are donation spots as you enter, so please leave your donation in the vases at the tables on your way in or out of worship. We ask that you be generous in your giving to support the mission of this beloved community. You can text UUCP to 73256. You can donate through the website, or you can send in an old-fashioned check. For all you give to our congregation, we are so grateful.
Thank you for being with us. I'm Johnny Lifshitz. I currently serve as the Vice President on the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees is giving a statement on the stewardship campaigns. The Board of Trustees here at UUCP and at any Board of Trustees holds the fiduciary responsibility for their organization. Several years ago, serving on the board, one of our members, Christine Marshall, taught me the weight of the responsibility regarding our commitments to our own values, our own staff, our own programs, and our future. Without question, the board here balances the services, the actions, and the impact of our liberal theology with resources that are at our disposal. Those resources are primarily our time, our talents, and our treasures. And as we all see that throughout the year, our time and talent are invested daily. And those times and those talents that we invest live us into the 8th principles of our faith. And primarily once a year at this time of year, stewardship time, we specifically ask for your treasures, the money necessary to sustain and grow our congregation. UUCP remains a beacon of liberal thought, liberal theology, and liberal action. And to that end, the Board of Trustees approved an aspirational budget last year. And we continue to find ways to fill that income gap because our stewardship campaign did not meet the goal. Our expenses have been rebudgeted, tax credits have been secured, and the generosity of our community continues to fill those gaps. And the board knows from all of you, our congregation members, our congregation friends, and our guests, how much you love our coffee hour programs, small groups, mini sermon series, the spring music series, adult faith development, children's ministry, and most of all, each other. Our board, staff, and minister can only work within the fiduciary resources available to UUCP, though. And this year, we've approved the same aspirational budget of $630,000 for approval at our meeting later this year. These pledged funds are added to the leases that we have to the educational centers on this campus, as well as contributions from the UU Foundation of Phoenix. They sustain our staff, they sustain our programs, our technical capability, including the online service, the hybrid service that we have today. And despite the proposed aspirational budget that's been built on all of our combined pledges over the year, the board still recognizes that our business administrator and our minister are still paid below the UUA midpoints for their salaries. And the richness of our current programming requires additional staff in technology support, communications, and membership. And that's why we strive for growth every single year. If you also don't know, our exceptional minister envisions a long, long tenure here at UUCP. The strength of our congregation and the mission lend itself to the high aspirations to get into real good trouble. Reverend Dance looks towards the day, perhaps it'll be sooner than later, with your immense generosity, when we all have the capability and the capacity to hire an assistant minister as well as provide training for intern ministers. And so this is one of those critical years. It's a critical year because we decide where we're going and where we're gonna go and who we're gonna be after this transformational pandemic. In good fiduciary faith, the board cannot endorse growth without money, and that's why we have our stewardship campaign. In good faith, the board is gonna sweat and toil to protect UUCP because UUCP is worth caring for and is worth preserving. Your board and the stewardship team are available to answer any questions that you may have on this topic. Thank you for the multitude of ways in which you continue to support UUCP.
Thank you, Johnny, for your service on the board. Appreciate it. I just have a quick announcement before I introduce our musician. And the announcement is that with COVID numbers dropping, we are finally beginning in-person choir rehearsals again. They will be outdoors and masked. I know, it's exciting, right? And it's good to see you all, too. I didn't mention that. They'll be outdoors and masked on Wednesday nights at 7 on the upper patio by the upper parking lot. Anyone is welcome, no experience needed. Ooh, I also want to tell you that when I got here this morning, there were a few papers of angry fundamentalist taped to our banners telling us to read the scripture, which,
Wow.
yeah, when you get targeted, you know you're doing something right, right? Yeah, so quick announcements. All right, so now in our latest installment in our spring music series, Steve Himmelstein. I've been in a lot of jazz and soul bands with Steve, and I've seen his name on many, many more. He always tells me that he just does the minimum to be passable, but apparently his minimum is enough to be in this small group of guitarists that get called for everyone in Phoenix who starts a band or wants to make a recording and needs someone to play guitar. Steve is the guy who gave me guitar lessons during the pandemic when I decided to take that up. And he's also now very busy as a booking agent at several different local venues. But I've never seen his solo show. I've always been working with him in big projects, so I'm looking forward to seeing that today along with you. And when I told him that this next song was about to follow Johnny's stewardship reflection and ask for money, he immediately asked if he could do this next song.
Best things in life are free. You can give them to the birds and bees who want money. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. Money don't get everything, it's true. What I don't get, I can't use. I want money. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. Your loving give me a thrill, but your loving don't pay my bills. I want money. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. Money. Lots of money. Whole lot of money. I wanna be free. That's what I want. That's what I want. What I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Once a wanderer got lost in the desert. They had been lost in the beauty of the desert, cataloging different kinds of cacti, entranced by the beauty of the saguaro, the prickly pear, the yucca, the ocotillo. The wanderer had followed the paths of many animals too, the desert tortoise, jackrabbits and lizards, and even some tarantulas. Over time, they had stopped paying attention to their water reserves, and slowly these had been consumed and evaporated in the daytime heat. Lost in the beauty of the stars at night, the wanderer forgot to set out their pans to catch nighttime condensation. They didn't know what the O'odham people know of the Sonoran Desert, how to eat the prickly pear and the yucca and the other hidden treasures of the desert. And so one morning, the wanderer realized they were lost. and also only had a few drops of water and bits of food left. Desperate to find their way back to the edge of the town they had left, the wanderer tried to figure out where they had ended up. But now the whole desert seemed to sprawl in every direction, and nowhere did they see a house or a sign of anything human. For a few hours, the wanderer tried in vain to find something familiar. And then their heart began to feel hope because they saw in the distance something that looked like a cabin or a building. They began to move toward it, but cautiously, afraid it would turn out to be a mirage or a false hope. But every step they took, the building became more clear. It was made of stones and clay, and it was very small, perhaps not big enough to be a house. And as the wanderer got closer, it was clear that there was really a building there, and no one was inside. Finally, the wanderer arrived and found a small door, which they had to duck their head to enter. Inside the small structure, it was several degrees cooler, as there were no windows and the floor had been dug down deep like a cellar. It was dark, but some light came through the cracks in the clay. The wanderer saw a large jug of water and greedily grabbed for it, barely noticing a note fall to the floor next to their foot. Uncorking the jug, the wanderer was about to drink the water when a round of fear hit them. What if it was poison? What if there was some trick here? Bending down to pick up the note, the wanderer read these words: "Use this water to start the pump. Don't forget to fill the bottle again when you're done." Pump? How could the wanderer have missed such an important and central part of the room? They had been so focused on the jug of water that they missed the pump, placed in the middle of the room. The wanderer's eyes adjusted to the dark room and saw it clearly now. They approached the handle, saw the spot to put the water, and hesitated. Should they pour out the water and risk the pump not actually working? Moments later, the wanderer decided to follow the instructions and began to push the lever up and down. And after a few minutes that seemed more like hours, the water began to come out of the spout, and the wanderer began to cup their hands and drink rapidly, throwing water over their hair and over their body as well. Eventually, the wanderer pulled out their own water bottle and pans and filled them all, drinking their fill and resting, then drinking some more. And later, who knows how much later, for some time seemed to have stopped in that cool, dark space, the wanderer remembered the original jug and filled it. They picked up the note and spied a small pencil in the corner, and they added the word "thanks," and then fell asleep for several hours. In the morning, as the wanderer organized their pack and belongings, grateful to have been protected at night in the little building, even if it meant missing the stars and the entertainments of desert life, they found the map they had brought with them, and when they stepped into the morning light and examined the map, found a small marking they had not noticed before that seemed to mark the spot they were in. Looking around them and using the sun to determine directions, the wanderer now knew they could find their way back to a town and began to make their way toward it, paying attention to the desert life around them, but keeping their eye on a nearly invisible path guiding them. By nightfall, they were able to see the lights of the first house on the edge of the town, and they knew they would make it to a bed and maybe even some leftover dinner. As they turned to take one last look at the desert sky, they felt something shift in their body and spirit. They knew they would never enter the desert the same way they had before. There was something different about them, barely visible in their stride, something different in the way they gazed at the town. Who can say what it was? Only the wanderer could feel the tickle of something changed, something new, something different.
Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near here? Just like me, they long to be close to you. And stars fall down from the sky every time you walk by. Just like me, they long to be close to you. On the day when you were born, angels got together, decided to create a dream come true. Sprinkled moon dust in your hair, golden sunlight in your eyes of blue. Is why all the boys in town follow you all around. Just like me, they long to be close to you, close to you, close to you.
Thank you so much. It is now the time where we come together to share the joys and sorrows that are present in our community. It is good when we are able to be together in this way to share, to connect, and to support one another. For our folks on Zoom, I invite you to please enter any joys and sorrows you would like to share with our community in the chat. I'll start with those this morning. And for those of you who are here with us in the desert, there are Joys and Sorrows cards that are at the front table. So just as a reference for next week, if there's something you'd like to share, please fill in a note there. And I have a few of them from folks here this morning. And I also want to just start by holding space for the heaviness in our world. Our minds and our hearts continue to be weighed down by the war in Ukraine. And as we find the small individual and collective ways that we can support the Ukrainian people and stand up against evil, I also want to acknowledge the ways in which those in our societies who are most marginalized continue to bear the greatest burden. Anti-Blackness has been on full display at Ukraine's borders, and all refugees in the US and around the world are deserving of the same solidarity and support that we've seen pour out over these last couple weeks for those in Ukraine. So I invite us all just to take a deep breath of the cool air here and the air that's in your homes as we create space for the joys and the sorrows that are present in our community. We have a joy from Jira that spring break just started. Oh, what a wonderful time. Sam and Michelle share a concern as Sam's father, Sam Kirkland, prepares to have a pacemaker installed. Sam and Michelle will be thinking of you and Sam of your dad during this time. The Lifshitz family shares that Owen turned 13 on Friday, so they officially have 3 teens in the household for a few months. Happy birthday, Owen. We'll give a moment for a few others to trickle in from our folks on Zoom. And I'll share those that were shared by those who are here with us in the desert this morning. Deborah shares, also has Ukraine on their mind, sharing, I am acknowledging my Ukrainian heritage, and I want to honor the desire of the people to be free as they continue their struggle, which has been going on for a very, very long time. Christine shares a sorrow that my computer is sick, which is a horrible thing to have happen right now during this time when we're so dependent on our computers. Christine shares that no matter what I do, it won't respond. It only shows the last email attachment I received, and it always shows the colorful wheel spinning all the time. I just don't understand computers. I think we all have those moments, and I'm so sorry, Christine. I hope that it's working for you here again soon. We have a joy from Natasha and John LaBarbera, I hope I'm saying that correctly, that Felix is going to California for the first time and to Disneyland. How exciting. Enjoy that time. And we have a joy from Annalise. I finally got to have a sleepover and then bring Shay and Tess to church. I missed this. Welcome, Shay, Tess, and Annalise. Wonderful to have you here. And more joys from the Lipschitz family. That Owen took first place at the Odyssey of the Mind regional tournament yesterday and is now moving on to the state competition. Congratulations, how exciting. And also, Colin made varsity on his high school wrestling team. So much to celebrate in the Lipschitz family. And one more joy from Melly shares, a joy is that I am connecting with my indigenous Kanita ancestors, and I am having a spiritual ceremony with my therapist to celebrate my new transformation. Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, thank you. I'm going to invite Reverend Sarah to lead us in our meditation.
I offer this prayer, this poem as a prayer from Alberto Rios for all who wander and find themselves lost, and also for all who've been forced to leave their homes because of war or climate change or for their own personal safety and well-being. I invite you to just take a deep breath, be in this place with these people, earth below us, sky above us. We plant seeds in the ground and dreams in the sky, hoping that someday the roots of one will meet the outstretched limbs of the other. It has not happened yet. We share the sky, all of us, the whole world, together as we are a tribe of eyes that look upward, even as we stand on uncertain ground. The earth beneath us moves, quiet and wild, its boundaries shifting, its muscles wavering. The dream of sky is indifferent to all of this, impervious to borders, fences, reservations. The sky is our common home, the place we all live. There we are in the world together. The dream of sky requires no passport. Blue will not be fenced. Blue will not be a crime. Look up. Stay a while. Let your breathing slow. Know that you always have a home here.
just ain't the same. Nobody knows just what became of Ophelia. Come back home. Was it something somebody said? Honey, I know we broke the rules. Was somebody up against the law? Honey, you know I'd die for you. They got your number. You're scared and running. I'm still waiting on that second coming of Ophelia. Please darken my door. Was it something somebody said? Mama, I know we broke the rules. Was somebody up against the law? Honey, you know I'd die for you. They got your number. You're scared and running. I'm still waiting on that second coming of Ophelia. Please darken my door. Please darken my door. Please darken my door. Please darken my door.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Benji, for bringing such fabulous musicians to join us over the series. Really wonderful. So as some of you know, I moved a few months ago, and I've been experiencing all of the excitement and all of the unexpected adventures that come with settling into a new space. One thing I knew pretty immediately was that I needed to paint. I needed a fresh coat of paint throughout the entire house, and I was lucky to have my dad join me for some time in February to start that project. As someone who has never painted a house before, I thought we could easily get through the whole thing in our 6 days together, and he just laughed at me. We made great progress, but I have several more weekends of painting ahead of me. And so I'm living in this physical reminder of the in-between, of the liminal space we're talking about today. Some rooms are completely finished, others are partially done, including the dark navy wall that was in my living room that my dad insisted on helping me to patch and prime before he took off. He wanted to brighten up my space during this upcoming period of slower painting progress. It's a layer of paint that will eventually get covered up, but I'll always know that it's there, a gift from him, and a reminder that even if we haven't made it to our desired endpoint, we still have choices to make in the in-between. We can take active, incremental steps. We can take time to rest and to pick back up where we left off. We can see the spots where the old bleeds through, and we can hold a vision for what's to come. Even once that final coat of paint is on, we can remember all of the layers underneath and be open to the future changes that are still yet to come. And yes, I am certainly stretching this painting metaphor a little bit too far. You can tell what's been on my mind and occupying my thoughts, so I appreciate you indulging me. Thank you.
Don't say there is no water to solace the dryness at our hearts. In the story, the wanderer loses their way, distracted by the beauty of the desert, forgetting the danger and without enough experience to know how to make use of its hidden resources. They're desperate to find water and know they won't survive without it. When they find the well, they must make a leap of faith and choose whether to follow the directions left for them and conserve the bottled water to start the well, or to drink the bottle and risk dying of thirst anyway. To us, this may seem like an easy choice, but to the wanderer, whose thirst is great, this requires more than impulse control. It requires imagining a future beyond the bottle of water. It requires imagining a future where there is abundance when they have only had scarcity. The desert, while a place that provides the necessary sustenance for many flora and fauna, is also a place of potential death for the wanderer. Each of us have had desert experiences too, lost and scared and tired, looking for something as if our life depended upon it, and finding nothing at all. Until we found it, but didn't know if there was enough of it, enough to be made whole again. Enough to get us through. When the resources we need become scarce, whether they are basic needs like water or money, or spiritual needs like love and kindness, we often find it hard to trust that we will ever have what we need. We are stuck in between, in a liminal space where safety and comfort are long gone, and our destination is unknown, perhaps even unknowable. Liminal time is that time between the old and the new, when there are openings for something new to be born, but we haven't committed or discovered what that particular future will look like. We're also afraid, perhaps, to count on any particular future. When the wanderer finds the bottle of water, they aren't sure what to do, and they aren't sure they can trust their own eyes. The choices before them seem ambiguous, and the sudden appearance of the thing that is most needed feels disorienting. So much seems to be couched in a cautious maybe. The wanderer doesn't know, and neither do we, what will happen next. In times like these, we know that over-planning won't help. Or as a friend recently said to me, watch out for future tripping. It's easy to get sucked into the anxieties of what might be, rather than centering on the right here and now. What if we've each had our own version of 40 days in the desert, a long time of wandering, waiting, and fasting, and a time of unfulfilled longing, to be with family and friends, to feel healthy and whole, to be with community and to feel safe and cared for? What if these experiences have been preparation for us, for our shared ministries, as it was for Jesus? Like Jesus in the desert, we have had to face our own temptations. We have been compelled to experience our own vulnerabilities as we have experienced devastations, both personal and communal. Even time has been unreliable. Has it been 40 days or 40 years? It feels like both simultaneously. What does it mean to have faith in times like these? And how can we create and maintain community amid uncertain plans and agonizing experiences? Like those who've wandered in the desert before us, we too have been denied the supports that protected us from feeling our vulnerability, dependence, and need to surrender and deeper trust to something larger than our individual selves. We have in some ways been cracked open by conflict and grief and isolation, and we may find ourselves eager to find some way back to each other. We are looking for the well, hoping to quench our thirst, hoping to find a path that will lead us out of the liminal world. Some of us engage the spiritual practice of Lent at this time of year because it invites us to face the desert inside of us. It invites us to feel our smallness, to feel our vulnerability, to feel our fears, and to open ourselves to the chaos of the desert so that we can rediscover what we need and what needs us. Another spiritual practice, allowing ourselves to truly grieve and allowing ourselves the cleansing aspect of tears, which also connects us to the flow of the water of life and letting our tears reconnect us to the origins of life. Whether we're wandering in the desert or drowning in our sorrows, we have an opportunity to plumb the depths with new resolve and increased capacity. We share responsibility for the well, but its ability to quench our thirst, to save our lives even, this is a sacred gift that we receive, even as its source is unknown to us. In this place of liminality, we may find we want to go back to the way it was. Instead, we find ourselves marooned in a place that is in between, where we can't tell what's going to happen and we don't even know what's possible. And in this desert, as our thirst grows, as the number of days since we've been lost grows, the experience of disorientation and exhaustion and anxiety increases. And for each of us, these layers may be different. We have faced different losses and challenges. We've wandered in this desert with different resources. We can also see many shared layers too. In the desert of the pandemic, we've all struggled, not being in our buildings, at school and at work with each other, losing friends and family, having to grieve and care for one another with extra layers of difference. Organizational and social and political changes. With the right resources, we can manage the scarcity of the desert. We can sleep under the starlit sky and find abundance and possibility. But unprepared, we may face too much anxiety, and we may be tempted to drink the water we need to save for the well, destroying our future. Future tripping is a dangerous pastime, friends, like playing with fire in a drought or swimming out beyond the breaking waves in turbulent water. Wandering the desert without something to help us mark the path, we can easily be stuck circling the same spot over and over again and never even know it. And even when we finally see our way forward, when we find the well, we can be our own worst enemies. Denial and resistance can prevent us from developing the capacity to transform what is right in front of us, to take the water and start the well, just as we've been told to do. What have you resisted in this time of liminality? In our communities, some have resisted change and resisted following the carefully written instructions next to the bottle of water, giving in to impulse. Moving at the speed of trust has not come easily. We've been faced with using technology differently and with reorganizing everyday activities in ways that have been, at least at first, unfamiliar and uncomfortable. We've seen each other and ourselves vying for ways to regain normal, even in the face of evidence that the pandemic was far from over. We have yearned to return to the world before. But even when we have begun to arrive and to return, we are finding that some things aren't the same as they were when we left. We aren't the same. The wanderer will never think about the desert or water the same way again. Liminal time can be fraught with opportunity and danger. It can also be freeing. Our resistance and fear can cause us to rush into new opportunities or fall back into old patterns. to follow leaders who offer false promises or doubt our own abilities. But the desert can also offer us a freedom to be creative, just like we are this morning, to be open and flexible, allowing us to discover possibilities and ideas we would never have even tried before. Because the desert is not a barren landscape. There are ways to live in the desert even, but they aren't the same ways that we live in the rainforest or the mountains or the city. It requires some adaptation, some creativity, some innovation. For example, in Lima, Peru, one of the driest places on Earth, where water is incredibly difficult to come by, engineers devised a way to harness the humidity of their coast by creating a billboard that condenses the humidity into usable water. Wow. Adversity sometimes pushes us to be creative in new ways. What have you tried in this last 2 years, perhaps out of desperation, that you never would have tried in the before times? What did you discover about yourself, or what's actually possible that you might not have discovered otherwise? In my small Southern UU church, we were faced with the struggle to get enough middle school and high school kids in one place at the same time. We had too few to create a thriving youth group, but I knew, our youth had been too long without each other, including my own 12-year-old. They were in school, but school was also still in the desert, caught in between worlds. So the well that we began to build was to be a place where they could rest and talk about their fears and create art and play games and dig in the dirt. But we needed help, so we turned to our neighbors and began to collaborate with other liberal faith communities in our little city to create a community youth group that was, mostly meeting outdoors like this. And the well that we built became a place to meet up. And so far, it has been made up of Methodists and liberal Baptists and Episcopalians and Unitarian Universalists. This group of youth and adults has made art, engaged in social service projects, started gardening, and begun to build new friendships. We don't know what's next, but we've begun to dream together. Once you start embracing new possibilities, you can start to feel a little brave, a little curious, a little creative. Maybe, what? What may be emerging from this liminality for you? During Lent, the practice of fasting or abstaining from material comforts is meant to nurture a sense of gratitude and to encourage us to share our resources with others. These last 2 years have been a long experience of moving between fasting and feasting, most of which we did not choose. Have we had the opportunity to retrieve something from the deep, beneath the ground, like the bucket that is lowered to the well? Something hidden and valuable, something life-giving and necessary that was obscured by our lives in the before. What treasures have you discovered that were already there, waiting for you to notice them? From where I've been watching, the well has offered us some new understandings of ourselves and our own purposes as Unitarian Universalists. At the individual level, so many of us are looking for work and looking at our personal lives and deciding to make changes. We don't want to stay in jobs where we are underpaid and undervalued. We don't want to give up time with our kids or our family and friends or our favorite pastimes and passion projects just to bring home a paycheck. We're moving to places we always wanted to live, leaving jobs that no longer are fulfilling, and reevaluating what we mean when we talk about the good life. And for me especially, the well has offered a chance to slow down, to pay attention to my own spiritual thirst and the needs of my family. We have been wandering in the desert in need of nourishment and healing. Wandering together, we have reminded each other to rest under the stars and both save and savor what is precious and life-giving. As faith communities, we are also reevaluating, asking what it means to be a community. What work are we called to do together? What our history tells us about who we are and who we might be. Can we use our buildings differently? Can we maintain connections that are both online and in person? How can we reshape our roles to fit these new possibilities? What resources can we share, and who will we share them with? How will we offer each other the grace and space needed to grieve and heal and weave a new story? The desert wanderer does finally emerge into a new landscape, a more hospitable future. The moment the wanderer drinks their fill of the water, the world shifts from survival to possibility. We feel this internally too. We feel this internally too when we allow ourselves to dream again, to have our fill of things we need to be whole. This is like water on a dry throat. What's hard about Emergence is that it is truly an organic event. It begins when we stay awake under the stars and start to tell stories, when we discover the many wells of water that come from the cooler air, when we take the risk of using the water left to us to start the well instead of hastily drinking it, when we ensure that the next wanderer will also know how to start the well. Our faith communities can be places that allow and encourage this kind of growth. This well will never run dry, we are promised, if we can allow ourselves to make the leap of faith necessary to access its depths. What has new clarity and importance, perhaps essentiality, that we can use to start the well? How has our storyline changed? And what will we say about ourselves as we move through our time in the desert into the unfolding future? Rather than fearing what comes next or protecting ourselves from change by denying and resisting the moment, let's live into new possibilities. Don't say there is no water. We will find it, and we will drink it to our fill, and we will offer it to the next person whose thirst has brought them here. And together, we will emerge from the desert. Amen. Blessed be.
This last song is called Colors, written by Black Pumas around 2019. It's a beautiful song and very fitting for this time. Sky first, just like we rehearsed. Get up off this ground, shake the leaves back down to the down brown brown till I'm clean. Then I'll walk where I'll be shaded by the trees in a meadow of green. favorite colors. All my favorite colors. My sisters and my brothers, I see them like no other. All my favorite colors. Take me to the open sky. Little baby bluebirds fly. Bright clouds, white walls, you name it, it's alright. We're gonna go talking about least I can say a homecoming parade which we renegade and it's alright. But all my favorite colors, all my favorite colors, I see them like no other. All my favorite colors. My favorite colors. All my favorite colors. My sisters and my brothers. All my favorite colors. All my favorite colors. Thank you.
I'm inviting you, as we end with these closing words from Fred Lamont, that we will have an online coffee hour after service. There's a separate link in the chat and on the website and in Compass, and also on the final slide if you're online. We won't be doing any in-person coffee chat, so we'll see you online. Coming home. When times are dark, the way becomes clear. Trust in your breath. Rest in your heart. Bow to the stranger. This is the gospel of astonishment. If we are completely lost, we come home to each other. May it be so. Blessed be.